Hi everyone. Today we have the last day of court. Prosecution and defense will both present their closing arguments. First was the closing argument from prosecution. The prosecution started. This case is not ordinary. It is exceptional because of its extreme brutality, the torture of an innocent child. The child became an object. The little girl existed only for the satisfaction of Dahbia. Even police officers, psychiatrists, and psychologists were all deeply traumatized by the cruelty inflicted on Lola. He reminds the court of the contradictions and inconsistencies when compared to medical and forensic evidence. Since the beginning of the trial, Dahbia insisted that Lola neither screamed nor cried. But the prosecution refused this. Of course she cried, and of course she made noise. He continues that Dahbia tried to erase the traces of murder by cleaning the bathroom and so on. She is not having any psychiatric illnesses, but major personality disorder. And this type of personality disorder she has is extremely rare and disturbing. That even a psychiatrist expert with 15 years of experiences working in prison never saw something like that. By the way, around 1% of the general population meets the criteria for psychopathy. Psychopathy, it's not black or white, either you have it or not. It's a spectrum. Dahbia scored high in the spectrum. Let me just mention few traits: lack of empathy or remorse, which we saw in Dahbia, shallow emotions, also seen, manipulativeness, impulsivity and irresponsibility, superficial charm, and need for stimulation. In my opinion, we saw majority, if not all of them, in this trial. He also reminds the court that Dahbia's sister Fria also lived through same traumatic events, through similar life story, but she didn't commit any crimes. In contrary, she built a stable life. But why Dahbia picked Lola? And why not another child? And why that day? And why such a violent outburst? Since the beginning, we have been hanging on her explanation. 10, 20 of them. Changing depends on who she speaks to. She blames ghost, sheep, ex-boyfriend, memories of rape, or the drug Lyrica. But Dahbia is the only one who has the answer. At the same time, there is nothing to expect from her. She did it to satisfy her sexual urges, her own pleasure. He asked the jurors to say yes to all of the 6 questions, not out of spite, but to protect society from a dangerous woman. When the prosecution gave their final arguments, Dahbia was sitting with her arms crossed, never taking her eyes from the prosecutor. Her stares were dark and cold. After was the defense turn to bring the closing arguments. The defense lawyer recalls Dahbia's childhood, beaten by the father, like her sisters and mother, raped by a neighbor when she was 12 or 13, sexually touched by her aunts, who organized sexual gatherings in the presence of the children. The evil is her ex-partner, who exploited her sexually. This is where the evil lies. After her mother died, she was no longer the modest Dahbia, no longer the kind, generous Dahbia, no longer the beautiful girl her sister described. She changed after her mother's death. Her behavior became strange and incoherent. She talked to herself, mumbled, and became unhinged. He insisted that trauma shaped who she became. He believes that drugs, medication, and prostitutions are the root of her personality disorders. It was the message exchange with Mustafa on that day that triggered her. The lawyer read the text message exchange again, pointing to sexually explicit, humiliating, and degrading messages sent by Mustafa. He also tried to convince the juror that there was no act of torture or barbarity, because Lola fainted, and when you faint, you feel nothing, according to Dahbia's lawyer. Your body is still functioning Your heart beats for 2 to 3 minutes, but you feel nothing. There cannot be acute suffering or pain if you fainted, and that's why there was no torture or barbarity. And from the Bia side, there was no intent to make Lola suffer. He also argues that the Bia didn't try to hide the crime, that at the bar she tried to show the stranger to have a look what is inside the trunk. So how is this trying to hide the crime? He also argues that what happened here, woman killing a child, is extremely rare and that she was analyzed as a man, but she is a woman. So basically, there is not enough literature to know how to clinically assess women. This was the end of the closing arguments from both sides. The judge gave the final word to the Bia, and she said, I ask for forgiveness. What I did is horrible. That's all I have to say. But I want to give the final word to Lola's family. We are here today because we all want justice for Lola. And I really admire their sign on their t shirts next to Lola's drawing. It says, You were the sunshine of our lives. You will be the star of our nights. The court ended here, and we are waiting for the decision by the end of today.